Singlet oxygen is one of many chemical species collectively known as reactive oxygen species, commonly abbreviated as ROS. Like the name implies, these species are reactive molecules or free radicals containing oxygen. ROS can be produced within the cells of organisms, often as byproducts of cellular processes within the mitochondria or chloroplasts of cells. In plant cells, generation of ROS often stems from plant exposure to stressful conditions or excessive light. The species singlet oxygen is an excited state of molecular oxygen resulting from a transfer of energy from the triplet or ground state to an excited state. It has two main functions within plants, including inducing programmed cell death and acting as a signaling molecule. This highly reactive species will react with other biomolecules found within the cells and reduce efficiency of photosynthesis, thus eventually leading to cell death. However, in the case that it acts as a signaling molecule, it can either induce various cell death pathways or a pathway leading to acclimation in which an organism adjusts to changes in environmental conditions. In the moments to come, we will examine a few of the ways in which singlet oxygen affects plants and animals.
What happens when a plant is stressed? Furthermore, what role does ROS play in this? There are many factors that can cause stress within plants. These stresses produce reactive oxygen species. One way that ROS can accumulate is through exposure to bright light. When a plant is exposed to very intense light, energy is expelled by singlet oxygen synthesis. This protects the plant from bursts of light in the short run, but too much at once can build up and can cause problems for plants in the long run. This can lead to oxidative damage and cell death in plants. For an analogy, think of a person staring into the sun. Staring at the sun for a few seconds can be unpleasant and cause your vision to be temporarily impaired, but if you stare at the sun for a very long time, you could go blind.
However, superoxide shouldn't be portrayed as the bad guy, because it's also very important in signaling responses to stress. And to make this more evident, I will use an analogy. And in this analogy, the fire is also superoxide in the plant example. So, in our society, when you have a fire, it can damage a house, or it can damage the photosynthetic apparatus. But you cannot call directly to the fire department to put out the fire. You must call a 911 operator, which will then dispatch the fire department. So, like in our society, in plants, superoxide will disrupt lipids, which will then cause a signal transduction and activate chloroplast localized proteins, which will then call to the nucleus, which is similar to the fire department, which has the strength to blanket or to stop the negative, harmful effects of superoxide.
Now let's take a look at the role of singlet oxygen in the medical world. This is Stan. Unbeknownst to him, Stan has a deadly cancerous growth in his inner ear that was caused by the corrosive sounds of 5-finger death punch blasting through his headphones. But don't go getting a case of crippling depression just yet, Stan. There's still hope for you. That hope comes in the form of none other than singlet oxygen. As we have learned, singlet oxygen is an extremely unstable molecule that can be harmful to cells. So if we increase singlet oxygen within the cancer cells, we can potentially kill them. Recently, researchers engineered a chemical pathway that did just that. They used a compound known as LAHP, which, when exposed to heightened levels of iron, produced excess singlet oxygen, like a lot of it. This singlet oxygen disrupted the cancer cell's redox state and caused them to die. Well, what about the normal cells? Aren't they hurt too? Thank you for the question, hypothetical kid, whose only purpose was to present an alternative viewpoint. But to answer the question, yes, the normal cells will also feel the effect of the oxidative stress. But the damage will not be permanent because normal cells have a naturally low oxidative state, which makes them better at handling the singlet oxygen. Thus, increasing singlet oxygen within the body would send cancer cells past their tipping point, but be unable to do the same for the more stable, non-cancerous cells. So fear not, Stan. We'll clear up that inner ear growth and have you jamming out to 5-finger death punch in no time. And now for the video question. name and explain one function of singlet oxygen. And in case you were wondering where we sourced all of this lovely information from, here's this thing.